Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a very interesting and worthy and kind of remarkable new release of a full-length ballet by British composer Thomas Adès, Dante. Ooh, baby. Featuring the Los Angeles Philharmonic under Gustavo Dudamel. Marvelously played and recorded. And it's on the Nonesuch label by Warner. Who knew that Nonesuch still existed? I guess Warner's using it for something. That's kind of exciting. I mean, it really, begs the question of whether or not Warner will ever do anything with the Nonesuch catalog. But that's another topic, isn't it? So it's available on streaming. I got it initially that way, and then this showed up. And it's a 2-disc set in one of these typical cardboardy leaflet things. And you know how I feel about those. So I have my CD extraction kit here, and I have to take out the various implements. Let me see. Well, there's this one. And, this one works really well, that one. But the best, as you all know, for serious CD extraction from these horrible cardboard boxes is the amazing vinyl-tipped false eyelash placement device. There's nothing quite like it in the world. It's the best thing for these things. So the way they've done it is the two CDs are at opposite ends of this flimsy thing. And let's see, you just take your CD extractor device and you clip it onto the CD and out it comes without getting smushed up. Isn't that wonderful? And the real tricky bit is the booklet, which is in the middle panel. Because how do you get the booklet out without destroying the flimsy cardboard packaging? Well, once again, we just take our handy dandy eyelash remover and we stuff it in here, and it sort of just pokes the booklet out this way. Fantastic. This is the best thing ever made. If you didn't watch my video on horrifying CD packaging and how to extract CDs, where I demonstrate all of these marvelous devices, your CD collector essential kit, I recommend that you do so. But in the meantime, do pick up one of these vinyl-tipped false eyelash placement devices. They're fabulous. Anyway, let's talk about the piece now, shall we? I'm very happy to see this getting released because this is a major production. It was a co-commission. What is a co-project thing? Multimedia extravaganza, featuring the Los Angeles Philharmonic and the Royal Ballet, in the UK. And, it's really salutary and kind of, make you feel good. It's a feel-good moment that the classical music military-industrial complex is able to get itself together to do a big project, an ambitious project like this by a major composer, a contemporary composer, and produce it and record it and release it, and I'm all for it. So that's great. And it's really a good piece. It really is. I've had my questions about Adès' work, particularly his powder her face or color her lips or powder her color or whatever that original ballet. It was an opera, that had the oral sex aria. Oh, it's disgusting. But he's written some really fine music since then. And I noticed, because I always do a little background checking before I do these reviews, if you look at Amazon or whatever to see what's going on with his music, he's written major works. And initially, they were recorded for the most part by EMI, and the LSO has on its own label, it's all out of print. He was pushed like crazy by the British musical old boys club establishment, particularly when Simon Rattle got behind him, and now all that stuff's deleted. And it's a shame, actually, because it's worth listening to. He's composed a very serious legacy of music, and these things deserve to be in print, at least long enough for them to become assimilated. It doesn't make any sense to make recordings of major contemporary works and only to have them available for 30 seconds, right? Let's hope this sticks around because it's fun. It's really fun. Now, is it all equally successful? Well, it's a little early to say, but I'd have no problem offering an opinion. the problem with Dante, and what this really is, isn't just Dante. I mean, it's called Dante, but it's the Inferno. Well, it's the Divine Comedy is what it is. All of it. So you get the Inferno, you get Purgatorio, and you get Paradiso. And you know what the problem with that is, don't we? The problem is that the Inferno is always going to be so much more fun and interesting than everything that comes later. I have to say, Adès has found a very ingenious way to do it, which I need to tell you about, because he's obviously aware of what the issues are, and he's attacked it boldly and with, really considerable vision and aplomb, I think. So the Inferno is a blast. Let's face it. I mean, what have we got here? You're going to love it. It begins with Abandon Hope, and then the Selfish, Stung by Wasps. You have a lot of, whip music, those are wasps. And then we've got the Ferryman, and then the Pavane of the Souls in Limbo. The Ferryman, by the way, is very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. 4 minutes of music. I mean, the style is contemporary, completely free, more often than not tonal, sometimes very effectively melodic, sometimes just textural. Adès was always very, very good at sort of high, bright sounds, which comes in handy later. Anyway, then we've got, Paolo and Francesca, of course, the Endless Whirlwind, the Gluttons in Slime. Ooh, I love slime. It's almost as good as Chromatic Sludge. And then we've got, the Suicides, and the Deviants. The Deviants, what's not to love? The Fortune Tellers, the Pope's Adagio, the Hypocrites, the Thieves, and finally, Satan. I mean, fabulous, right? So that's part one. Now, part two is the Purgatorio, and it begins with sort of swooshy sounds, avant-garde noise, texture things. And then we've got Dawn on the Sea of Purgatory, Mount Purgatory, the Valley of Flowers, the Healing Fire, the Earthly Paradise, the Heavenly Procession, and then the Ascent. Well, how does he deal with Purgatorio? He deals with Purgatorio by making it a rather prayerful interlude that uses the recorded voices of the Adès synagogue in Israel. It's a Syrian Jewish synagogue, which is obviously related to Adès himself, and it is. And so you hear some cantorial singing, which I immediately recognized. I mean, it was really funny. I heard this. I was where did that come from? And they do a bunch of psalm things, and the whole thing is prayerful, but it moves. It moves very, very nicely. And the prayer stuff is intermingled with orchestral bits, and it grows in volume and intensity and congregational singing until it begins to sound sort of like a geriatric bar mitzvah. And the geriatric bar mitzvah part is mercifully brief, because those of us who have gone through geriatric bar mitzvahs when we were younger, and we had bar mitzvahs, but everyone participated, I mean, it was a happy occasion, of course. We all had a good time, but I have to say, hearing it here, I found rather disconcerting. Those who haven't gone through the process probably won't notice, and it won't make any difference. It's kind of like hearing the central movement of Bernstein's Jeremiah Symphony, when you realize that all of the tunes that he's done are derived from the Hebrew tropes that we have to learn, and so it sounds like your bar mitzvah. Anyway, so after this recollection of our bar mitzvah, in the Purgatorio, we get to the Paradiso. Now, Paradise is the hardest thing to do, because Paradise is boring. We all know it's boring, and he tries really hard to make it not boring, even though he can never write anything below a middle C. I mean, he does actually very cleverly sneaks in some low notes here and there to give the stuff that's above middle C a little bit of a foundation. And this is based on, like astrological things. You've got Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, the Eagle, Saturn, the Golden Ladder, fixed stars, and then finally Empyrean. Now, this is long. I think it's a little too long. It's a 26-minute long light-filled effusion. And oh, I wish he had not brought in the wordless female chorus, the angelic choir at the very end. Oh, it's a little tacky. I mean, isn't it, Thomas? Come on, admit it, right? I get it. I mean, I get it. I guess you have to. It's, but Debussy did it so much better in Sirène. I mean, is it the end of the planets? You got these women going, ooh, oh, damn it. What can you do? But the very ending is a combination of the Tarangalela Symphony and the poem of Ecstasy. It's one of those big crescendos with a nice tam-tam roll and all that stuff like that. So at least it doesn't expire in a fizzle of saccharine religiosity. It's not like that at all. In fact, there's nothing religious about it, particularly. It's brilliant, full of motion and space and spacey, that kind of stuff. And it's very beautiful. I mean, it really is. And it's not conventionally beautiful. It's not like Christian rock. You know what I mean? I mean, it's contemporary music. So it's harmonically interesting, rhythmically interesting, texturally interesting. It has a lot going for it, even if it's not as much fun as the Inferno. I mean, what can you do? You don't get enough deviance in Paradise. That's the problem. But the performance is splendid. The sound is marvelous. And like I said, how many major 3-act ballets do we get these days, right? I mean, it's a seriously wonderful piece and a tremendous effort, and I recommend it highly to all classical music lovers. A major contemporary work by a major composer who has not let his initial boosterism go to his head and is continuing to write some really thoughtful, outstanding music. There's nothing cheap about this, even the angelic choir at the end. Nothing at all. I think it's a good job. And you may like the bar mitzvah part more than I did. I think it's a very intelligent way to approach the idea of purgatorio, to make it a prayerful purgation using religious texts and interesting religious texts. That from interesting, musically interesting religious texts. So, again, I have my own personal feelings about it, but can't complain about the concept. The guy really gave it some thought, and I admire that. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.